Spectro Solutions, Volume 3, read by Sebastian Brown. Chapter 6. 2 Ducks and an Orange. Alex and Jamie found themselves sipping tea and coffee at the break of dawn. The rope and the previous night's escapade had sparked a wave of inspiration in Jamie. "Look, if we can hold them with the rope, then we should be able to contain them somehow," said Jamie, as he leaned back in a chair, stroking his beard. "What are you thinking?" Alex asked. Eager to share his groundbreaking idea, Jamie described a box designed to encapsulate spirits, even going so far as to detail the mechanics of how such a device could operate. Alex listened intently, his expression shifting from skepticism to intrigue. "That could actually work," Alex murmured, running a hand through his hair. A shared excitement filled the room as they discussed the possibilities of the invention. It was clear they were onto something. "I think it's time we call Lindsay," Jamie said. Alex nodded in agreement. Jamie dialed her number with a hesitant finger, the phone ringing ominously in the calm morning air until Lindsay finally answered. Her voice was groggy, yet sharp. "This better be good, Jamie," she grumbled, her annoyance palpable even through the phone. "Lindsay, we've got something big and—" Lindsay quickly cut him off. "You're with Alex, aren't you? There's no other reason you'd be up at this time on a Sunday. Alex, I know you can hear me. Didn't I tell you to wait for me? And you, Jamie, sneaking off with Alex to test the whip without me? Not impressed," she scolded, her words laced with a mix of frustration and concern. Sheepishly, Alex took the phone from Jamie. I know, he said, his voice a blend of apology and excitement. "But listen, it works, and we've got another idea. We need your help." There was a pause, a sigh, and then a softening. "Fine," Lindsay conceded. "My other mate's cancelled on me anyway, so I've got nothing else planned for today. I'll be over in 20. Lindsay arrived a short time later, armed with a battered toolbox and a roll of sheet metal. Together, the three of them worked the rest of the day to create a box that could, in theory, contain ghosts. As the sky darkened into a deep indigo, Alex's kitchen was a hive of activity, the air thick with tension. Lindsay was a maestro of metalwork, her hands moving with precision and grace. With each spark from her welder, she meticulously sculpted the containment box. Beside her, Alex was the embodiment of concentration, his fingers deftly soldering wires and components to breathe life into a new circuit board. Jamie, ever the optimist, provided moral support and the occasional clever insight. Together, they were more than just friends. They were pioneers on the cusp of a breakthrough. The trio stood back and surveyed the finished result sitting in the middle of the kitchen table, its metallic surface gleaming under the fluorescent light. It was more than just a box. It was a marvel of engineering and paranormal science, a beacon of hope, and a testament to human ingenuity. With the box completed, Jamie couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. He glanced over at his friends, tired from the day's work, and announced, "Right, this is it. This will definitely work. How about we head to the pub and celebrate?" His voice was filled with a confidence that was contagious, but Lindsay's next words quickly grounded him. "The pub's a no-go," she told him, her tone serious. "It's got a new resident, a ghost." Alex's eyes sparkled with a mixture of mischief and determination as he snuffed out his cigarette. "Actually, this could be the perfect opportunity to test out the box," he said, standing up and stretching his arms. The others nodded in agreement, the thrill of the challenge igniting a fire within them as they gathered their equipment and set out into the night. Lindsay's car, an aging blue hatchback with faded paint and a stubborn engine, carried the trio towards their regular drinking spot. The streets were empty, apart from a few small ghosts darting across the roads. Inside the car, the atmosphere was a mix of anticipation and nerves. Lindsay gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles white, while Jamie fiddled with the radio dial, searching for a distraction. In the back, Alex stared out of the window, his mind racing through the possibilities. Would the box work? Could they truly contain a spirit? As they slowly pulled into the car park, the old pub stood before them, a weathered facade with centuries of stories etched into its walls. The air held a chill, and the team's breath formed misty clouds as they exhaled. The landlord, a stout man with a bushy mustache, waited by the entrance. His eyes widened as he saw the trio emerge from Lindsay's car, the mysterious box cradled carefully in Jamie's arms. "Jamie!" the landlord called. "Over here!" Jamie had called ahead, speaking in vague terms to the landlord about their intentions. He had known the trio for over a decade and trusted them enough to give them the benefit of the doubt. The landlord stood at the side entrance, his face etched with worry. His voice was grave as he recounted the events of the previous night. "It was crazy," he told them, his hands trembling slightly. "It just erupted out of nowhere, throwing chairs, tables, people's drinks. We all had to run before anyone got hurt." The trio listened intently as the gravity of the situation slowly settled on them like a heavy snow. "I don't think we should do this," whispered Jamie. "It doesn't sound like a normal ghost." "Well, we're here now," Alex whispered back. "He's right, Jay," said Lindsay as she pushed open the door. "Besides, what have we got to lose? They feed off fear. Just don't be scared. And be ready with the box." Alex and Jamie shared a worried look. The pub greeted them with an eerie silence, the warmth and laughter that usually welcomed them replaced by a cold stillness. The air hung heavy, thick with the smell of spilt ale and something else, something mustier, a hint of rot. They crept through the door, the low ceilings pressing down on them like a bad omen. Exposed brick walls, usually a comforting sight, now seemed cold and damp, the mortar lines catching the faint moonlight filtering through the windows. Old photographs, once brimming with life, now held a sinister appearance as they passed by. Their reflections distorted as if the glass itself was warping reality. The long L-shaped counter, usually the heart of the pub, stood unstaffed, its surface marred with sticky patches and deep scratches. The brass taps, once gleaming, were now tarnished, and tables and chairs lay scattered across the floor, overturned or smashed. The trio paused, their hearts pounding in their chests. The silence was deafening, broken only by the soft creak of old floorboards and the distant drip of water. They couldn't see the ghost, but they could see blobs of glimmering red goo splattered randomly around the pub. Alex adjusted his collar, his eyes darting around the scene. "Okay, team," he whispered. "We're about to make history. No pressure." He nearly jumped out of his skin when Lindsay nudged him from behind. "Lindsay, don't do that," Alex whispered, eyes wide with surprise. "Easy there, Pac-Man," she teased. "Remember, we're not here chasing ghosts. We need to test the box." As ever, Lindsay's humor was a beacon of light even amidst the gravest of challenges. The air thickened as they crept further into the pub, and the blobs of goo seemed to throb with anticipation. "Do you think that's from the ghost?" Lindsay whispered. "Nah," Alex replied. "Looks like the house cocktails to me. I hate the red one." Jamie leaned in. "So, if we do find a ghost, what's the plan?" Alex grinned. We engage in polite conversation, ask about its unfinished business, maybe offer it a pint. Lindsay snorted.
Because nothing says I'm sorry you died horribly like warm lager.
Look, Alex sighed. I'll wrangle it and you try to get the box under it, okay? Jamie nodded with a staunch look on his face. We've got your back, bro. Let's do this.
Right, it's got to be around the corner,
deduced Lindsay. The trio crept forward, not really knowing what to expect. They cautiously made their way to the edge of the bar, their hearts racing with a mixture of fear and anticipation. The musty air filled their lungs, heightening their senses, and a prickling tide of unease washed over them. Suddenly, they were stopped dead in their tracks. A grotesque red spectre lingered around the corner. It was unlike anything they had ever seen before. A horrifying apparition that appeared to have been plucked straight from the depths of their nightmares. Its crimson form was nothing short of repulsive. Drenched in a gory, translucent goo, it almost resembled an invisible man, and the lack of visible limbs made it seem as if it were suspended in thin air. Its glowing red eyes only added to its terrifying aura.
What's it doing?
Whispered Jamie.
Shut up!
Lindsay jabbed him with her elbow.
You're gonna get us caught.
With a ferocious growl, the ghastly spectre turned and fixed its gaze upon the trio as they cowered behind the bar like three frogs peering out of a pond. As the ghostly being snarled at them, a primal sense of terror washed over the trio. They crouched back down behind the bar, desperately trying to conceal themselves from its piercing gaze. The red ghost slowly floated closer, its eerie presence filling the room. With each passing moment, the tension in the air thickened, and the trio could only wait in dread for what would happen next.
Okay, let's see if I can make this work then,
whispered Alex. He shot to his feet, a bold look in his eyes. Hey, Clifford! Happy hour's over! He cracked the lash at the ghost, looping it around one of the spirit's invisible wrists. For a split second, the whip's energy caused the ghost to become ever so slightly visible. Ha! Got ya! Said Alex. But the spirit was unimpressed. With a swift motion, it grabbed the lash and effortlessly flung Alex aside. The sound of glass smashing and bottles breaking rang out as he disappeared over the bar. Jamie and Lindsay quickly jumped up to help him. Alex popped up, covered in alcohol and broken glass. I'm fine, he said. Jamie and Lindsay looked at each other.
He's not fine,
said the pair in unison. Jamie dashed to the pub's corner with the box under his arm, skidding as if he was making first base. He wrenched open the box and threw it towards the ghost. Somehow, the square box rolled and landed on its end, with the opening facing back towards him. An eerie glow lit up his worried face as he mumbled,
"Oh no."
A bright yellow light emanated from inside the box, and short green electric tendrils whipped around the opening, like frantic snakes snapping at their prey. The ghost paid no attention to Jamie, and instead floated menacingly towards Lindsay, moaning and oozing goo. Alex jumped onto the bar and called over to the ghost. "Hey Knuckles! Over here!" He quickly grabbed a lone bowl of crisps that was sitting on the bar and threw it at the ghost. The bowl soared straight through the red spirit and dinged off Lindsay's head, covering her in stale crisps. "Alex!" cried Lindsay. "Use the rope, not the friggin' bar snacks!" Lindsay could hardly believe her eyes as the ghost ignored Alex, hovering before her, its ghastly mouth slowly widening. "Don't do it!" begged Lindsay, both hands up in surrender. With a sudden, violent burst, the ghost sprayed a thick, sticky red goo all over her, drenching her in a surreal, fire hydrant-like explosion. The force of the goo knocked her back against the wall, where she slumped to the ground, completely overcome. Lindsay struggled to lift herself up, but the suffocating goo weighed her down. All she could do was watch as the ghost turned to face Alex, who was prone, ready to try and wrangle it again. Meanwhile, Jamie was stretching as hard as he could across the sticky pub floor, slowly turning the box around from afar. Alex whipped at the ghost again. This time, it left a searing wound. It clearly hurt, but the ghost just glared at him. He could see that Jamie had successfully managed to turn the box around and had an idea. With a swift leap from the bar, he plunged into a dive, propelling himself towards the box. In a moment that seemed to stretch and bend time itself, the pub's atmosphere was charged with a palpable energy as Alex soared through the air like Superman, rushing to save the day. The ghost acted fast. It swirled in a frenzy, its form flickering and undulating like a storm cloud as it quickly moved between Alex and the box. Alex's arms phased through the spectre, and he felt the chill of the afterlife. His hair grazed the ghost's form, and in that split second, the green tendrils shot out of the box, ensnaring the spirit and dragging it inside. The box trembled as Alex landed on top of it, teetering precariously. "Alex!" Jamie shouted, putting his arms up. The box tipped, and Alex tumbled, rolling forward and landing on top of Jamie. "No, not again," Jamie grumbled, pushing Alex off. They both stood up, disheveled and wide-eyed. "That's 3 days in a row," cried Alex. "This can't be good for me." Jamie surveyed Alex, who now sported red streaks of goo running down his face. "You look like an ice cream sundae," said Jamie, unable to suppress a grin. Alex wiped his face and let out a victorious laugh. "Friggin' yes! We did it!"
"I don't friggin' believe it, boys," said Lindsay, as she wiped the thick red goo from her face and revealed a wide grin. "There's a friggin' ghost in there! We actually caught a friggin' ghost! Ah, we did it!" She flapped her arms in excitement, showering Jamie and Alex with flecks of goo before striding purposefully towards the box. She narrowed her eyes, curious, and aimed a swift kick. To her surprise, the box responded with a satisfying clunk. Suddenly, Alex's voice broke through Lindsay's reverie. "Don't kick the box," he warned. She blinked, startled. "What? Oh yeah, don't kick the box," she mumbled, still grinning. Alex gestured at the carnage around them. "We don't want it to come back out, do we?" Without missing a beat, he turned to Jamie. "Pass me your belt." Jamie raised an eyebrow, but complied, quickly unbuckling his belt and handing it over. Alex's eyes gleamed with determination as he wrapped the leather strap around the box and tightly secured its opening. Just then, the landlord entered. He handed Lindsay a towel, a grateful smile on his face. "You lot are amazing! Jamie, I've got to hand it to you, mate. You are the man!" He motioned towards the trio. "3 pints all night! Just as soon as I turn up a table." Jamie cheered, but his celebration was short-lived. As he raised his fist in triumph, his trousers suddenly fell down, revealing a pair of Pink Panther boxer shorts. He turned to the landlord, embarrassment coloring his cheeks. You don't have a spare belt, do you, mate?" Laughter erupted from the group as the landlord hurried off to grab a replacement. As the evening came to a close, the trio bid each other farewell and headed home. Lindsay, however, had other plans. She carefully tucked the box and the whip under her arm and hurried home, eager to unravel their secrets. Adventure loomed on the horizon.
and she had been waiting her whole life for this. Chapter 7. The Fourth Musketeer. Alex sat cross-legged on his double bed, sipping tea and smoking a cigarette as the London news played on the TV in the background. His phone dinged. It was Jamie checking to see if he was heading into work today. He hadn't made up his mind just yet. After all, Lindsay had all the gear. What would he even do if he did stay home? He lay back on the bed and took a puff on his cigarette, lost in thought. The familiar sound of Lindsay's knuckles rapping on his front door jolted him out of bed. Lindsay yawned and rubbed her eyes as he pulled open the front door.
"Morning, Alex," she said. "I haven't slept a wink."
Alex stared at Lindsay. Her auburn hair was tied in a messy bun with a pencil sticking out, and her eyes were bright red.
"You look like you need a coffee,"
said Alex, quickly leading her into the kitchen and flicking on the kettle. Lindsay settled at the table and plopped her bag down.
"So, I understand how it all works," she said. "But I don't know how to advance it any further. We need to bring in someone else."
"Okay then," Alex replied, turning around and leaning against the counter. "Did you have anyone in mind?" A short while later, Lindsay's blue hatchback pulled up outside an old house in Hackney. The morning sun had begun to rise and cast a warm glow on the faded paint of the front door. Lindsay stepped out of the car, her trainers crunching on the gravel driveway as she slung her bag over her shoulder. She approached the door, trying her best to ignore the anticipation fluttering in her chest. She waited, but there was no response. She looked down at her phone.
"It's not that early,"
she grumbled aloud. Undeterred, she knocked again, this time calling out,
"Gina! It's Lindsay! Come down!"
The light inside flickered to life, casting shadows on the frosted glass. Lindsay watched as a silhouette moved towards the door. The hinges groaned, and there stood her friend, Gina. Gina Harris stood tall, her blonde hair falling in loose curls around her shoulders, and her charismatic smile could disarm anyone. Her piercing blue eyes held a spark of curiosity as she opened the door and glanced at Lindsay. Gina had once been a senior mechanical design engineer, using her expertise to create ingenious designs to solve problems with generators, turbines, and all sorts of other mechanical systems. Whether it was a complex machine or a precision component, she always found an elegant solution. Lindsay was well aware that Gina had left the corporate grind behind, but as she stood there in her nightie, a bundle of possibilities, Lindsay knew there was no one better.
"Hey Gina, how's it going?"
Lindsay asked as she stepped past her friend and slipped inside the house. Gina raised an eyebrow as she followed Lindsay into the living room.
Good. It's 7 o'clock on a Monday morning. Are you not working today?" "No, I'm not working today. I've got something to show you,"
replied Lindsay, a hint of excitement in her voice.
"Oh, very nice. What did you get at Comic-Con then? Sorry about cancelling yesterday. It's fine," said Lindsay, cutting her off. "Something else came up anyway."
Lindsay settled onto Gina's plush sofa, pulling out the rope and the box before recounting the weekend's events.
"And then Jamie's trousers fell down," said Lindsay.
Gina's eyes lit up.
"I'm bloody in,"
she exclaimed, grinning. Her enthusiasm and optimism were infectious. Lindsay chuckled.
"I knew you would be."
Without hesitation, Gina dashed out of the room and up the stairs, re-emerging moments later with her sticker-covered laptop.
"Let's do this,"
she declared, her eyes sparkling. As the morning sun streamed through the living room window and the birds sung in the trees outside, the pair huddled over Gina's laptop, tweaking dimensions and fine-tuning every detail. Together, they dreamed up new versions of the equipment. 3D models that defied convention, sleek metal boxes with automatic locks, perfect for capturing spirits, and new van braces equipped with custom-made retractable ropes, which Gina aptly named Spectro lashes. These weren't mere designs, they were blueprints for a new reality. Gina and Lindsay quickly loaded the files onto a USB stick and departed. Armed with their meticulously crafted designs, they stepped into the garage at Camden's sewer maintenance depot. The air smelled of grease and determination, a fitting backdrop for their audacious endeavor. The garage was a haven of creativity, a place where rusted tools and discarded machinery whispered tales of forgotten repairs. Lindsay's desk sat in one corner, cluttered with half-broken gaskets and coffee-stained schematics. A large 3D printer sat in the opposite corner, humming with anticipation. Gina popped on a pair of old safety goggles as she sat down, the glow of the computer screen reflecting on the lenses.
"Lindsay," she said,
her voice steady.
"This is where the magic happens."
Lindsay grinned, her fingers tracing the edges of the machine's bed.
"Magic? Yeah. Let's do this."
Gina loaded the designs into the 3D printer, and its mechanical arms began dancing to an otherworldly rhythm. The machine whirred, layer by layer, weaving the nickel alloy resin into tangible forms. Their creations emerged, one after the other. Sleek, streamlined devices that promised to revolutionize the supernatural world.
"It's all starting to come together,"
said Lindsay, admiring the smooth finish on one of the devices. But innovation required power, and Alex's heavy, twin-battery solution was not going to cut it. Gina and Lindsay exchanged a knowing glance.
"Lindsay,"
Gina said, her voice conspiratorial.
"Do you remember those forklift batteries you were telling me about?"
Lindsay nodded.
4 of them, yeah? They're over there in the might need it one day box. They're not even that heavy, but they do pack a punch."
"Exactly," Gina replied with a grin.
"Let's see what they can really do."
As the day went on, the afternoon sun slanted through the garage window, casting elongated shadows. Gina and Lindsay stood back, admiring their work. Their creations sat on the floor in the middle of the garage, a striking fusion of art and science. 4 power packs designed to power the newly created Spectro lashes. The power pack bases were ordinary backpacks, once mundane work issue gear. Lindsay had kept them for a possible future project, and this seemed like the perfect opportunity. The pair skillfully dismantled the backpacks and excised the back panels, repurposing the bags into the bases of their new power packs.
"Not bad, eh?"
Lindsay remarked, holding up one of the revamped backpacks. Thanks to Gina, the 3D printed backboard was a marvel of design precision. It served as the robust spine of their creations, ensuring unwavering stability. Perched on the backboard stood a trio of coils housed in shiny cylindrical tubes. These elegant structures were not just for show. Due to the nickel alloy construction, they were potent conduits, adept at boosting raw power before it was transformed into usable Spectro energy.
"I still can't get over how good these look,"
said Lindsay, patting one of the cylinders.
"Just wait till you see them in action,"
Gina replied, excitement in her voice. Woven into this intricate design were a set of reclaimed LED light strips. Each coil boasted its own luminous indicator, casting a glow that displayed the current level of power running through them. And at the very foundation of the power pack lay the forklift battery, the pulsing heart of this entire assembly. It was more than just a reservoir of energy. It was the lifeblood for their supernatural apparatus, ready to empower their Spectro gear. The air crackled with anticipation as they examined the newly crafted Spectro lashes.
"Lindsay,"
Gina whispered,
"if these things work, it's gonna change everything."
Lindsay looked up.
"They're gonna work," she said. "Trust me."
The new ropes were radically innovative. Their multi-section design allowed them to compress from 3 meters down to 6 inches, neatly retracting into a small coil. The Spectro lashes hung discreetly from beneath the vambraces, ready to ensnare any elusive spirits. Hidden within the vambraces, Lindsay's miniature transformers pulsed with energy, and a thick, flexible cable snaked its way from the power pack, ensuring a seamless flow of energy. Lindsay added a small dial and a reprogrammed bicycle computer on the top of each of the vambraces to finish them off. And then there were the redesigned boxes, Gina's Spectro books. They resembled jewelry boxes, or perhaps ancient tomes, with their shiny metallic surfaces hinting at the secrets held within. With their brand new Spectro gear completed, the pair hastily packed them into a sack before loading the 4 power packs into Lindsay's hatchback and speeding off. They arrived a short time later at Alex's, quickly letting themselves in. Jamie was already there, sipping coffee, while Alex was enjoying a cup of tea and a cigarette. Lindsay proudly plopped one of the power packs on the table as Gina dumped out the equipment from the sack.
"Check this out, you dimlos," she declared. "This lot right here, state-of-the-art Spectro lashes, Spectro books, and power packs. We're talking next-level ghost wrangling."
Alex and Jamie seized the equipment like kids on Christmas morning. Jamie's eyes widened as he examined one of the vambraces, its sleek design fitting snugly around his wrist. "How do they work then?" he asked curiously. Lindsay attached the cable from the power pack to Jamie's vambrace and began to explain.
"Turn the dial first, and the rope will drop out."
Jamie followed her guidance, and the Spectro lash extended smoothly. "Very nice," he said, twirling it like a magician's wand.
"Click the dial to switch it on," Lindsay continued.
Jamie complied, and the lash crackled to life with purple energy.
"Oh yeah, these would be sick at Glastonbury,"
he exclaimed, swinging it around and accidentally whipping himself.
"Ow!"
"Oh, what's the display for?" he asked, rubbing the back of his head. Lindsay shrugged.
"Not sure. Right now it just shows the battery power."
Alex turned his dial. The vambrace shuddered and a short rope slowly emerged.
"Don't worry, it's not the size that counts, mate,"
joked Jamie. Gina laughed.
"You need to plug it in first."
Alex took a long drag on his cigarette as he sat up. "You know," he mused, "we've got the equipment and the enthusiasm, but do you think anyone out there actually cares enough to pay for these spirits to be caught?" Lindsay raised an eyebrow, contemplating the question. Jamie leaned back, sipping his coffee.
"I know we can make money after the free pints last night. We just need a high-profile job."
Gina leaned forward, her eyes wide with excitement.
"You know what I heard?" she began,
her voice hushed.
"The Children's Play Centre in Lee Valley has been shut down for weeks now because of a mysterious ghost haunting the place."
Sounds interesting," Jamie said. "But we need something that'll make headlines." Gina nodded.
"Agreed. So, what's the angle?"
"We could call the news station and report a massive fire in the play center. We'll make it sound urgent, like the whole place is going up." The strategy was bold, unethical, and probably illegal. They knew it was risky, but a successful demonstration on national news would be a game changer. Now, armed with their state-of-the-art equipment, they had a plan to showcase their innovative ghost wrangling technology to the world. As time ticked away, Alex's kitchen transformed into the team's makeshift command center, the air thick with anticipation. Lindsay, in her blue boiler suit, was busy double-checking the connections on the power packs. Gina, meanwhile, wore a green jumpsuit and was practically vibrating in her seat as she went over the schematics of their untested equipment on her laptop. Alex sported his grey boiler suit and was trying to appear calm, casually puffing on a cigarette as usual, while Jamie, in red, was meticulously checking every piece of his Spectro gear.
"Alright, so here's what's going on,"
Lindsay began, clapping her hands as she stood up.
"The old play centre in Lee Valley has been giving the locals nightmares for weeks. Strange lights, eerie noises, the whole shebang. From what I've read online, it sounds like it's a low-level haunting, the perfect opportunity to test the redesigned Spectro gear."
Alex dabbed out his cigarette and smirked. "And if we bag this ghost, we'll be the talk of the town. The phone won't stop ringing with people begging for our help, and then we can make some real money." Jamie nodded, adjusting his old boiler suit.
"I'm just looking forward to seeing these babies in action,"
he said, patting his power pack. The team shared a look, a mix of nerves and excitement. They had mentally prepared for this moment, but now it was time to face the music. As they stood up and grabbed their Spectro gear, the team couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the cusp of something big. With their power packs charged and their Spectro lashes buzzing, they were ready to face whatever awaited. And so, we reach the end of Volume 3. Our heroes have discovered a knack for the extraordinary and a new teammate. But their journey is far from over. Can they maintain their sanity amidst the encroaching chaos? Will they be able to harness the full potential of their Spectro gear to become true masters of the supernatural? The answers await in Volume 4. Until then, thank you for listening.